Welcome to Lessons I Learned in Law, the podcast, powered by Heriot Brown in-house legal recruitment and hosted by me, Scott Brown. I'm the founder of Heriot Brown and I'm also a recovering lawyer. And if you don't know, I started this show in 2020 to create a resource that I would really have wanted when I entered the profession and what I could see myself looking for as I moved through the profession. Each week, I get to interview a leading voice in the legal profession to hear their story of how they've made it to the top of their game. These are honest and authentic career conversations which give you an idea of what it takes to reach the top and achieve success, whatever that might look like for you. Now, we do this by navigating each guest's top 3 lessons that they've learned in their career and how they've applied these. On each episode, I hope you'll take away valuable insights into what's happening in our guests' legal functions today and how they're navigating some of the biggest risks and challenges that they face. For Season 6, in line with our continued international growth at Heriot Brown, I'll be speaking with guests who have enjoyed a rich and varied international career. I'll be bringing you these conversations every Thursday, streaming on LinkedIn Live at 12 p.m. GMT, and it will be available to download across multiple platforms, so stay tuned. Hi team, on this week's episode of Lessons I Learned in Law, I'm joined by Sandrine Auffret, who is Executive Vice President, Chief Legal Counsel and Company Secretary at ASML. Now, I had the pleasure of being hosted in ASML's podcast studio at their really impressive campus in Eindhoven. It's a city rich in research and innovation, and it's now home to Europe's most valuable tech company, ASML. Now, Sandrine's role there isn't just about leading the legal team. She's reshaping what it means to support a business that's expanding globally and pioneering in the semiconductor space. So we dig into some really incredible stuff about her adaptation and growth, how she's moved from the pharmaceutical industry and moved into the technology space, an entirely new field. How she's built a future-ready legal function. The legal team's grown from 37 to over 100 people. Quite remarkable. So we'll hear about how she's gone about doing that and a little bit of the stuff that she's applied. And then also just authentic leadership and how important it is to strike a work-life balance. So there's loads of wisdom in this episode for everyone. If you're in a leadership role, you aspire to be in a leadership role, or you're just curious about what it's like to work in a high-stakes environment. So we'll dive right in. So Sandrine, welcome to Lessons I Learned in Law.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you for hosting. We're here in this impressive studio in ASML's building. So I'm keen just to hear a bit more. So I've given an introduction there quickly, but keen to hear a bit of a bird's eye view of an overview of your role at ASML at the moment and what that looks like.
So I'm the Chief Legal Officer and Company Secretary for ASML. I'm responsible for all the legal matters, of course, but I'm also covering all of our compliance, so ethics and business integrity, but that also includes export control, privacy, and all our compliance processes and operations across the company. And I also am the chair of the Community Partnership Program for ASML, which is a program that is dedicated to ensuring that we take care of our communities around us. ASML is a company that has grown tremendously over the past few years. And of course, with the growth of ASML, we have had an impact on the outside world. We brought in a lot of people in the region, which has an impact on housing, schooling, traffic, infrastructure overall. And so there is a dedicated program within the company that is looking at this, and I'm chairing the team. And I'm also sitting on the board of ACC, which everybody knows, as the Association of Corporate Counsel, which is the largest, one of the largest association for in-house lawyers around the world.
Amazing. Got your hands full.
Yes.
So interested to find that community, the community program, is that part of the wider ESG?
Absolutely, yes. So this is part of our ESG strategy. We are focusing on inclusive communities, attractive communities. We're also driving education in STEM, so that's engineering, mathematics, science, and we're also looking at innovation in our ecosystem. And so this is something that makes our employees very proud of working for ASML.
Great. And how many people within the business are involved in that?
So the team, so there is a larger team that I'm not responsible for, but there is a larger team that is society and community engagement. I believe the team is now around 30 people, maybe.
Right.
And the team that is looking at all the projects that are being submitted for approval is around 10 people, and are representative of various functions and also various regions in the company.
Okay, great. I read a book. Congratulations to me. It was the founder of Patagonia. The future of the responsible company, and a lot of that they talk around community and impact on the wider community. It's a good read on that subject. Perfect. And obviously you've relocated to the Netherlands, not local. So you're French by background.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm indeed a French qualified lawyer. Yeah. I grew up in Marseille, which is down in the south of France. And I often say that I grew up with the sun, not really wondering what the weather would look like when you got up in the morning. I did all my studies in Aix-en-Provence, so for a very long time, until the age of 25, I stayed in the south of France, and then I moved to Paris. I also worked a bit in the UK. We moved to Switzerland when we got married, so I worked in Basel, I worked in Geneva, I worked a bit in the US, and we moved to the Netherlands about 3 years ago on the 1st of, I started my job at ASML on the 1st of July, 3 years ago, 2021, and I moved my entire family. So I'm married, and we have 3 children. So we moved the entire family back in Eindhoven about 3 years ago. That has been quite something.
Yeah. What age were they when you moved?
When we moved, so we have 2 daughters, 1 son. They were 10, 14, and 16.
Okay.
And I have to say that wasn't the best age to move kids, but we've been very resilient, and actually looking back, it's one of the best choices that we made, because it has really opened up horizons for the kids. They went to international school. They're fluent in English. They have made friends from all over the world. So it's just great.
Yeah,
for
brilliant.
Kids.
Yeah, it's a great place for kids, but it takes. Yeah, there's a lot of pain in that first 6 months to 12 months in bedding in, I can imagine. And now you do know what rain looks like, at least.
Yes.
Living in the Netherlands. We've got a very good benchmark.
I make sure to go back to Marseille.
Yeah, I was in Marseille. I went I was lucky to go to the Rugby World Cup last year in Marseille. It was my first trip there. Yeah, it's lovely. Aix-en-Provence. Very, very good. So we'll jump into your first lesson, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I guess, one of my first lesson across my entire career, and I would say even before, when I was a student and a kid, was to be always very well prepared. And as we discussed before this interview, the only exception I made was for today. Or I guess with experience you become a little bit more relaxed. But as a kid, I have always been very disciplined in my studies, including when I was in university. When I was preparing for exams, I had a very tight schedule, always on the clock, starting at 8 in the morning until 6 in the evening. I wouldn't work in the evening, and I would do the same the next morning. And throughout my entire career, you face a number of challenges, and I think that when you're well prepared, at least you put yourself in a position that is less difficult. And so particularly when you do public speaking, or when you have a big meeting and you have to explain something that is complex, I rehearse very often, and I continue to do so even after more than 25 years of experience. Less from time to time because you become more relaxed, but still. And I often think about what are the questions that can come up. And I remember that at some point in my career, so I started working in Paris, but most of my career has been made in Switzerland. And one of my first boss in Switzerland was very inquisitive, and she used to ask tons of questions. And as we started to work together, at some point it made me doubt about my own ability, because you kind of feel like, well, she's asking so many questions, I don't always have the answers to those questions. But I actually learned a lot from her, because thinking about what may come up actually helps you think about different scenarios and come up with more solutions for the business. And so I also push my team to do the same. And I guess that at times they feel that I'm a pain, but that's okay. That's okay, because together we can look at different things. We can brainstorm and then be better prepared. One, to face challenges, but also to think out of the box. So this is really something that I have been very disciplined in doing.
It's it's very good advice. And how do you, in terms of preparing the team for that, or if you're taking on someone new, are you upfront about that? Do you say, listen, I will grill you at every point, or do you just let it develop naturally?
It's not a question of, grilling someone. I think it's a question of thinking together. I'm a very strong believer that you are stronger when you work in a team setting, and so it's a question of brainstorming. It's a question of thinking together, of looking at the different possibilities that you have around. And I guess I'm a pretty direct person, so I think you get what you see. But so the team very quickly learned, I think, how to deal with me. And I often tell them, if I'm asking too many questions, just tell me. It's also okay to say at some point, we've gone around. Let's make a decision now. So that's also okay.
Okay, great. And like talking about teamwork and collaboration, we're here in this amazing big building, it's called, and it's as part of ASML's campus and the academy. and all of the businesses in here, or some of the businesses, are suppliers. So collaboration seems to be a huge part of ASML's business and its values and culture.
Well, so we have three values at ASML. They are challenge, collaboration, and care.
Okay.
And this is a innovation company. This is a tech company. So innovation plays a very big role, and is what has made the success of the company. And collaboration is as important. If you want to innovate, you need to work together. And when I interviewed for this role, I came from a completely different industry. One of the first things that the CEO in place at the time told me was we have a very tight ecosystem. So we are for a certain part of the technology that we are making, we are the only one to do what we do. And we are heavily reliant on some of our suppliers. And our customers are heavily reliant on us. So when you look at this from a legal perspective, you cannot afford to enter into disputes or into litigation with those suppliers and with those customers. So collaboration within the company is key to generate innovation, but collaboration within our ecosystem is also extremely important to make sure that we all work together towards a common goal.
Yeah. Okay. And that must be a tightrope then in terms of R&D and the IP crossover and things like that. So yeah, it's good to hear that the legal function, how that plays into that. And back to the lesson on preparation, and you touched on it there in terms of moving from a different industry to this role at ASML. How did you prepare for that switch and move from highly regulated healthcare, medical devices into something in the technology space?
That was a challenge, and is still a challenge, I would say, and should not be underestimated. So I started my career in the automobile industry.
Okay.
And then I grew up in healthcare.
Right.
So very quickly, I spent 3 years in the automobile industry, and then I spent more than 20 years in healthcare, working primarily in Switzerland, and both in pharmaceutical and in medical devices. I knew it all nearly, right? You reach a certain level of comfort in your position, also because I had been with the same company for a very long time. So you know the people, you know the organization, you know the product, you know the business model, and you also have institutional knowledge. So you know a lot about the history of the company. I did not consider myself as one of the dinosaurs at the time, but I knew a lot. And that gave me a lot of comfort in leading the team, because people would ask you questions within or outside the team, and you could answer from the top of your mind. And then I got this opportunity to become the general counsel of ASML in an industry that I had never worked in. I didn't know anything about semiconductor in a different country. It was a first-time GC role, so quite challenging. Of course, you come in and you want to add value. Immediately, you want to build credibility, you want to build trust, but on the other hand, you also have to rely on the people around you, because you don't know much. And so you're a very good lawyer, you're very competent in what you do, but you need to apply that to a completely different industry, and you have to learn it all. And I had to learn it all, and I think even 3 years later, I would say that I'm still learning a great deal. I used to be surrounded by doctors.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by engineers. It's a very different population. Yesterday we had a executive team building,
Right.
and someone asked me, why are you so detailed? And I felt like, well, I'm not sure I'm detailed enough for ASML because engineers are extremely detailed. And so I think, one of the advice that the CEO had given me when I started my job was take your time. Take your time, go out, learn, go in the clean room. We have a huge campus. We're expanding. We have 22,000 people on site. It's huge.
Yeah.
I used to work for Novartis in Basel. We had roughly, at the time when I was there, 10,000 people on site. It was a city. It felt like a city. You can imagine what it's like to have 22,000 people.
Yeah.
People are queuing in the morning just to get on the campus and find a parking spot.
Yeah.
So I went into the clean room. I talked to engineers. I spent a lot of time with engineers, with people in manufacturing. I also dedicated entire days to just shadow people. Shadow the head of D&E, shadow the head of one of our business line, sit down and learn about the technology, learn about our suppliers, learn about our business, who our customers are, if we have competitors, because as I said, we are the leader on the market. And so you just need to take time, because what you need to do then is really contextualize the advice that you are giving to the business. And in order to put that in context, you need to understand what you do. And you can be the best lawyer if you don't understand what the organization is all about, how you work with your suppliers, how you work with your customers. It's really difficult, and that's how you build relationship with your stakeholders.
Yeah.
So that is really key, and that is really something that I made a point of conveying to my team when I joined. When I joined, the team was it was a very good team. I think my predecessor had done a very good job in hiring very good people, but the team was operating very remotely.
Right.
They were not necessarily out in the open. And what we have, my vision is really to be a proactive strategic business partner. And so we have really worked around that to make sure that we're there. We are there where things get discussed. We are in the room. We are around the table. We are driving things in the right direction, because what you don't want is pedal back once a decision has been made.
Right. Yeah.
That can be very costly for a company.
Yeah. So like that very curious mindset and going out and just asking questions. Do you, in terms of like the other way around now, that in terms of that embedding the team, do other functions come and sit with the legal team to find out about how they support, or like in terms of inquiring into how legal supports the business?
I think we are. So we really, as I said, we really made a point to be close to the business. We have of course, we have our finance partner together with us. So we have our HR partner together with us. But rather than people sitting with us, we go and sit with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, because it also builds the visibility of the team.
Cool.
Absolutely.
And then in terms of the having a different industry and bringing that different perspective. Do you look for that in your team in building a team, or is there do you think there's a balance to be had where you've got people in the team that have manufacturing, technology experience, engineering experience, and then others coming out with other sectors, from other sectors?
So I think it really depends. So with my experience, and that was the same when I was in healthcare. Of course, you want to bring experience into the company, and what you want to do is bring experience that you need, right, to build your team. But that said, I have never excluded a candidate simply because the person didn't have the right industry experience. It's not easy to find people with semiconductor experience. Yeah. I think it really depends on what your role is within the legal team. Export control plays a significant role at ASML, and so we have a large team of large. You can put things in perspective, of course, so you always want more, right? Want to make sure this is recorded. But in areas where it's very specific, having experience in the industry can be extremely beneficial. Absolutely. But I think everyone can grow. And everyone should be given a chance of learning and of growing. So it's not because you don't have the right experience from the start. I think if you're a smart lawyer, if you have, I take legal skills as a given. But if you have potential, if you have a good personality that's going to fit into the team, then you should be given a chance to grow.
Great. So we'll move on to lesson 2.
Yes.
Could you share that, please?
So and I guess it's a nice segue with what we just talked about, but my second lesson is to have your own board of directors.
Okay.
And what I mean with that is, one, build your team around you. Surround yourself with good people, with people that you can trust, people that you can sit down and brainstorm with, and who are, of course, competent, right? So this is key to success, and people who also have very good leadership skills, because when you're leading an entire function, of course, people look at you as the general counsel, but you have all of your leadership team around you, and you need to be aligned on the vision, on the mission, on what your strategic priorities are. For the company, but also for your own team. Aside from your team, also have a very good group of people that you can rely on. Right. And I mean, sometimes mentors, sometimes coaches, sometimes just colleagues, people who are part of the same leadership team as you are, where people whom you can vent from time to time, because those times come at some point, and people who can also give you feedback. Right. People who can help you grow in difficult times as well. When you're facing challenges, when nobody's perfect, when you start a new role, where do you get your confidence? How can you build trust? And if you have someone, if you have a listening ear, if you have someone who can help you, I think it's really critical.
Yeah.
It gives you peace of mind, but it also helps you grow.
Right.
And I have had many people in my career. I actually learned the tough way. You need to enjoy what you do. You need to enjoy the people around you, and that wasn't the case. Right. And at some point, it helped me build resilience. It helped me build thick skin, but it also taught me the leader I wanted to be.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to be someone who was personable, someone who was approachable, someone who was part of the team and not on top of the team. And so that played a very big role. And then I had the chance of having very good leader around me throughout my entire career that really helped me grow and that really inspired me.
Yeah.
And I also had the chance of having coaches throughout my entire career, and whether they were mentors, whether they were coaches, I also think that at some point you need to acknowledge your own limits to a certain extent. You need to be aware of what your weaknesses or your derailers may be, and you need help. And I think it's actually a strength to say, I need help there. Yeah. Can I get a coach? Can I get a mentor? Yeah. Because these people often have a lot of experience and they will help you grow.
Yeah. I find it quite liberating to say that's not my strength. I'm not going to burn the energy on trying to do something that I know I'm not going to be the best at or the most competent at. There's someone in our team that's better at doing that. It takes a little while to get there personally for me, but when I do it and release and can step back, then it's you just do everything else much better. Because like you said, I think I'm a firm believer in you're good at what you enjoy at. You enjoy what you're good at, and you're good at what you enjoy. So that's really good to hear. And how did having had that bad experience or experience that built the resilience and you've seen what poor management looked like, how did you then, for your next move, what due diligence were you doing to see this individual, I'm not going to go down the same track?
It's an interesting question. I don't think I did any due diligence at that time, but I was quite young at the time, and I think that you decide for yourself, right? You decide for yourself whether you want to be happy at work or whether you want to make your life miserable. And I had the chance of joining a company where the legal team was a small legal team at the time, and where we were very close to each other. And so you just decide to stay. And I stayed with this company nearly 20 years. Right. Also because year after year, I had very good leaders that I could work with and that I could learn from as well. And I think you also recognize when things are not going well and when you've had enough, and then you can decide for yourself.
Yeah.
So
great. So we touched on what the roles looked like for you and the position that you inherited at ASML, but there's been significant growth in the legal function over a relatively short period of time. How's that process been? And I guess what have you brought? Growing from 37 people to over 100, where do you start in a project like that?
So I had experience of building teams before joining ASML. As I mentioned, I worked for Novartis for nearly 20 years. I became a young leader at a young age, and then back in 2013, I joined Alcon, which had been acquired by Novartis from Nestlé, and I was asked to build their EMEA team.
Right.
And when I started, it was pretty much me and myself, and which was quite daunting. And then I built a team to around 50 people, hiring around, around the world. And then when I left, I was leading international, and the team was roughly around 100 people.
Okay.
And so when I joined ASML, so I had that experience with me of first hiring people, but also structuring teams in a way that made sense for the company.
Right.
When I interviewed for the role, I had asked, can you show me the org chart?
Right.
And I was looking at the structure of the team, and it didn't really make sense to me. So I knew even before joining that I would make changes. And so one of the first things that I asked when I joined was to embark on the transformation. And so I worked with a small consulting firm at the time who had supported me in the transformation of the legal team that we had done at Alcon. And we really tried to understand what the business needs were for that team. So we conducted interviews with a high number of business stakeholders. We also interviewed the legal team, everybody in the legal team, pretty much, to understand what the expectations were. The company was growing, and at the time it was still I don't know if you've heard about that, but ASML used to be named by the BBC as the a Dutch obscure company, which clearly we no longer are. The company has grown 30% in terms of number of employees. When I joined, I think we were roughly 30,000, and we're more than 42,000 today. Has also grown in revenues from 14 billion at the end of 2020 to nearly 28 billion at the end of 2023. And so it was clear that the legal team could no longer operate in the way that it used to operate, that we needed to be close to the business, but also be proactive, be more strategic, and build an organization that was more aligned with the needs of the business.
Right.
And so we conducted that assessment, and after 9 months into the job, we just brought an integrated function together. So when I joined, for instance, privacy was in HR, employment law was in HR, export control was in finance. There was no real compliance function. There was no chief compliance officer.
Right.
I had come from a place where we had a number of government investigations. I really wanted to strengthen the compliance function. So we really after the assessment, I put my leadership team together, and together we built the structure and then launched the transformation.
Right.
It wasn't an easy piece.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine.
You encounter challenges. People are not necessarily willing to let go of what they are doing in other places of the organization.
Right.
And so you have to convince that this is right for the company, that the company is growing, that as a result of the growth, we are being more exposed. We are you want to protect, right, the interest of the company, and therefore you need to have the right function behind you, and the right people and the right skill set. So we launched a transformation. I joined in July 2021. We launched the transformation in March of 2022.
Right. Yeah.
And ever since, we've been growing the function.
Oh, cool.
So.
And there must have been some exciting growth opportunities for people within the team, within the legal function, and looking at that new structure.
Yeah, so I mean, we of course, as part of the transformation, we build our vision. What do we want to stand for? We determined our strategic priorities. Where do we want to focus? And people was a very big part of that. So people got, of course, development opportunities. And today, this is still top on the agenda of my leadership team and of myself.
Right. How important do you think it is for a legal function to have, legal and compliance function, to have its own vision or purpose that and sits separately from the wider business?
I think it's just quite important, actually, because and sometimes I mean, we've had, since I joined, we have a all-hands meeting every quarter. Every year since I joined, we've had a global meeting. And sometimes I feel like a broken record when I send messages across. But what you realize is that it really resonates with people, and it enables them to be aligned behind common objectives. And so for me, there were three guiding principles in the transformation. The first one was to be a proactive strategic business partner. So, don't stay behind your desk. Just go out in the business where things are happening, so that we can understand what's going on and we can proactively advise and be on top. Two was compliance. We really invested a lot of resources into building the compliance program. And three were people. And so people really understand the business partnering, the need to be a close business partner. And I think that unless you build that vision for a large team, people continue to do their day-to-day business. And people continue to work on what they think matters for them or matters for the organization. But if you don't tell them these are the strategic priorities of the company, and this is how we're going to spend our time, we're not going to spend our time just focusing on what we think is important. We need to focus our time on what the business thing is important. And so I truly believe that it's really fundamental to guide your people behind a common vision.
I think it's great because and for the people within that team to have purpose and to be able to see the contribution that the function's making to the wider business and detach, which I often think is a lawyer's perspective rather than the side of the business of the legal team separate or a support function, and then that really elevates the function. And obviously recognised in the Financial Times Awards recently as a legal leader yourself in Europe, and the team with some exciting projects that have been going on, which is great to see. How easy is it to attract people to Eindhoven as a place? How is that a challenge that you've had?
It can be a challenge. It can be a challenge, yes. When ASML reached out to me and said, do you want to join? And I asked, are they in Amsterdam? But I also think Eindhoven has really changed over the past few years. It's becoming more and more international. And I think the company itself has become so visible. And what we do is so innovative that people want to work for us, no matter where we are located. And if you ask me, I was living in Devon, which is just across the border from Geneva. Do I miss the lake? Do I miss the Alps? Yes, of course I do.
Yeah.
But you recreate your own environment, and Eindhoven is a very nice place to live in.
Yeah.
So that can be a challenge, but the company that we are, I think, helps us overcome that challenge.
Yeah.
You want to work for a company, sometimes no matter where this company is located.
Yeah, doing great things, and it's historically a hub for engineering excellence with Philips.
Yes.
And others. So.
There's a lot about design. There's a lot about technology, about innovation. So it is a really nice environment, and there's a lot happening in the ecosystem.
Yeah, and very well placed within Europe, I think, for excursions elsewhere. Brilliant. So we'll move on swiftly to your last, the third lesson.
Yeah. So. My third lesson is I guess is twofold. One is just be yourself, be authentic, stay who you are, and also pay attention to your family.
Right.
Work is extremely important, and I spend very, very long hours, and I've always people, I guess, could say that I'm a workaholic.
Right.
But I think I have even never worked as hard as I have over the past 3 years since I've been in this job. And that is eating a lot of my time, and including of my personal time. But if I'm here today in this position, is also thanks to the support of my family, of my husband. My husband is a teacher, so he's always been quite flexible. Although I acknowledge that at times it's been challenging, but we've always moved from Paris to Basel to Geneva to Eindhoven, and my family has always made it easy for me to grow and to succeed in my career, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And so also being a woman, to be honest, and having 3 kids is not always easy. You're trying to do your best. You're trying to be the best general counsel, the best mom, the best wife. And earlier in my career, I had those immense feeling of guilt towards the kids because I've missed birthday when they were small, for instance. But I have always been supported. And my mother-in-law used to tell me it's not the amount of time that you spend with your kids that matter, but also the quality of the time that you give to them. I guess there's a bit of both, right? But it's really important to, especially in difficult moments, to find the balance. And I always tell people around me, when I speak about leadership, when we do International Women's Day, for instance, don't give the best of yourself to work and the rest to your loved ones. I think I try to put them as my priority. It's not always easy, right? But what I do, for instance, is that even if I work in the evening or at weekend, I never work on Saturdays.
Right.
Unless absolutely critical. I shut my laptop on a Friday night. And then I usually don't look at it until Sunday. So to make sure that I'm present.
That's important, isn't it?
This is really, really important.
And is that something you instill within the team as
Absolutely.
well. Yeah.
I think work-life balance, well-being is critical, and we have well-being champions in our teams. So, for instance, when we do all hands meeting, we always have the first 5 minutes talking about well-being, standing up, moving, dancing. And so we've recently implemented like very basic tips. Limit your meetings on a Friday afternoon. Don't send invite for meetings after hours, after working hours. So try to have lunch with your colleagues, including within the function, but most importantly outside of the function as well. So this is really something that is close to my heart, and I want people to feel comfortable in the team. Yes, this is absolutely critical. So it is important if you want to keep your team motivated and high performing, to give them the space for work-life balance.
I think it's also important to it's great to celebrate wins in the team where it's a result of hard work. It's a project that's paid off, but there's also time to carve out and celebrate other things as well. I think that's really important to get that balance and instill the culture in the team, which sounds like where you're at. Awesome. Well, I think we're. I don't want to keep you much longer, but I've really enjoyed chatting with you and hearing more about the journey that you're on at ASML, and look forward to continuing following the success of the team and the business. And thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. I mean, time flew by very, very quickly.
It does, always the way.
Yes,
bit of reflection.
It's a pleasure. Thanks a lot
really nice
for having me.
And thanks for hosting this amazing place. Blown away by the setup here. I've not even seen the actual 22,000 people's home on the campus. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Cheers. Bye.
Hi, thanks for listening to today's show of Lessons I Learned in Law, the podcast powered by Harriet Brown. I really hope you got some value from it. It's the real reason that I set up the podcast, to help you, our audience of in-house lawyers or people within the legal profession, to learn from others in the industry. At Harriet Brown, we're a legal recruitment business that is driven by a mission to help lawyers find fulfillment in their careers. For us, this extends well beyond the transactional aspect of helping you find a new job or finding hires for your legal team. Where we excel is bringing the best people together and the right people together, which is why community has always been at the heart of our business. We really try to add real value to our network. So to keep up to date with everything going on in our community, make sure you subscribe to Lessons I Learned in Law on your favourite podcast platform. And if you've enjoyed this episode, leave us a review or share it with your friends and colleagues on social media. That would be much appreciated. Take care.